Let me ask you a question that might change the course of your life. When was the last time you woke up and made yourself your number one priority? Not your job, not your boss, not the bills, not your followers. I'm talking about you. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't get better when you focus on everything else. It gets better when you get better. When you wake up in the morning, before the world demands your time, your attention, your energy, there is a moment that belongs to you and you alone. Most people waste that moment. They reach for their phones. They scroll through distractions. They start reacting to life before they've even set their own intentions. But in that moment, if you choose to put yourself first, if you choose to center your mind and your spirit, you gain control over your day instead of surrendering it to chaos. That moment is sacred, and it's where personal transformation begins. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that prioritizing ourselves is selfish. We've been taught to put others first at the expense of our own well-being. But what nobody tells you is that when you consistently put yourself last, you slowly lose the strength, clarity, and energy to show up for anyone at all. You become a version of yourself that's constantly drained, overwhelmed, and quietly resentful. Putting yourself first doesn't mean neglecting others. It means becoming the strongest, sharpest, most powerful version of you so you can serve at a higher level. You have a responsibility to your own evolution. Your mind, your body, your spirit, these are your tools. If you neglect them, you show up dull in a world that demands you to be sharp. When you don't take care of yourself, you hand your power to circumstances. You let the world decide how you feel, how you think, how you react. But when you make yourself the priority, when you put energy into your growth, you begin to respond instead of react. You become grounded in purpose instead of tossed around by pressure. Making yourself the priority means saying no without guilt. It means setting boundaries that protect your peace. It means being intentional about what you consume, who you spend time with, and how you speak to yourself. Most people let life happen to them. They're tossed by other people's expectations, other people's timelines, other people's opinions. But when you focus inward, you begin to listen to your own voice louder than the noise. You stop asking for permission to live the way you were designed to. Think about this. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of the choices you make when no one else is watching. It's easy to play the role in public. It's easy to look like you've got it together. But when the cameras are off, when the house is quiet, when you're alone with your thoughts, who are you then? Making yourself the priority means confronting the version of you that hides behind busyness and distraction. It means doing the hard work that nobody applauds, but that changes everything. You must become the kind of person who refuses to operate on autopilot, who refuses to go through the motions. When you make yourself the priority, you don't wait for motivation, you create discipline. You don't rely on hype, you build habits. You stop measuring progress by how others perceive you and start measuring by how deeply you're aligned with your purpose. The truth is, there is no external achievement that can compensate for internal neglect. So you learn to pour into yourself every day, not as a reward, but as a requirement. This isn't about surface level self-care. This is about radical accountability. This is about deciding that you're no longer okay with mediocrity in your mindset, in your energy, in your standards. It's not enough to just survive. You were designed to thrive. But thriving is a choice, and that choice begins with how you show up for yourself. Not once a month, not when you feel like it, but every single day. When you make yourself the priority, your standard of living rises because your standard for yourself rises. Making yourself the priority also means owning your time. Time is the most valuable asset you have, more valuable than money, more precious than talent. And every time you give your time to something that drains you instead of builds you, you make a silent agreement to stay stuck. When you reclaim your time and direct it toward learning, healing, building, and growing, you shift the entire trajectory of your life. You stop surviving by default and start designing your future by intention. There will always be people who misunderstand your focus. There will always be voices that try to guilt you back into people pleasing. But you have to remember, the people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always be the loudest when you finally set them. That's not your problem to solve. Your job is not to keep others comfortable. It's to become the version of yourself that can handle the life you truly want. And that version of you, it doesn't emerge by accident. It's built deliberately through focused and consistent effort. Every morning you have a decision to make. Do I invest in myself or do I postpone my growth? Do I own my life or do I outsource it to the demands of everyone else? You can't outsource self-mastery. You can't delegate your discipline. No one is coming to save you because the power was never out there to begin with. It's been within you the whole time. The moment you make yourself the priority, you stop waiting for a breakthrough and start becoming the breakthrough. Most people live their lives in response mode. They wake up to alarms, not intentions. They check their phones before they check in with themselves. They answer to emails, notifications, obligations. And in doing so, they hand over the first most powerful moments of their day to something outside of them. Reaction becomes their habit. And over time, that habit becomes their identity. They don't realize it, but every time they react instead of create, they give away a little more control of their lives. Living in reaction is like being a passenger in a car you should be driving. You're moving, sure, but you have no say in where you're going. You're just along for the ride, hoping it leads somewhere good, but hope is not a strategy. Creation, on the other hand, is intentional. It's when you take the wheel. It's when you decide, this is what I'm building, this is how I'm living, this is where I'm going. Creation is not a gift given to a lucky few. It's a power within us all, but most people never activate it because they're too busy reacting. Creation requires vision. Reaction only requires stimuli. When you're living in creation, you see past the current moment. You think bigger than your environment. You're not bound by your past or trapped by your current circumstances. You're actively building a future that aligns with your values, your purpose, and your potential. And that takes courage because creating something meaningful means going first. It means stepping into the unknown. It means betting on yourself before the world gives you permission. To create is to be proactive about your identity. You are not your past failures. You are not your current situation. You are not defined by your paycheck, your followers, or your resume. You are defined by what you choose to build today. Every action you take, every thought you reinforce, every habit you form, it's either constructing the person you want to become or reinforcing the person you're trying to grow beyond. Reaction lets the past write the script. Creation lets your vision take the pen. You can't create and complain at the same time. They come from two different mindsets. Creation is rooted in ownership. This is mine to shape. This is mine to change. Complaining is rooted in victimhood. This is out of my control. When you live in creation, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what can I do with this? You stop looking for someone to blame and start looking for something to build. You find power in progress instead of excuses. Reaction thrives in chaos. Creation thrives in clarity. You'll notice that the more reactive a person is, the more scattered their life tends to be. They're always rushing, always behind, always overwhelmed. That's because they're responding to life instead of directing it. Creation, on the other hand, demands stillness. It demands reflection. It forces you to pause long enough to ask, what do I actually want? It's in those quiet moments, before the noise, before the demands, that real direction is found. People often say they feel stuck, but what they're really experiencing is a lack of creation. They've stopped imagining, stopped building, stopped initiating. Instead, they've surrendered to routine, to comfort, to whatever's expected. But life doesn't reward stagnation, it rewards motion. When you create, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, you regain momentum. You begin to remember that your life is a project, not a prison. You don't have to wait for the right moment. The act of creating is what makes the moment right. Creation isn't just about building businesses or writing books. It's about creating yourself. It's about designing your mindset, curating your environment, choosing your inner circle. It's about deciding who you will be in the face of adversity. It's about shaping the narrative you tell yourself every day. You can create confidence. You can create peace. You can create purpose, but only if you're willing to stop reacting to life and start designing it with intention and discipline. The hardest part about creation is that it's a decision you have to make daily. You don't create your life once and then coast. You wake up every day and decide, I will not live by default, I will live by design. It's a mindset shift that becomes a lifestyle shift, and with repetition, it becomes your identity. You start to see yourself not as someone trying to survive, but as someone here to build, to lead, to transform. Not just your life, but the lives of those you touch. Creation is a higher frequency than reaction. It lifts you above the noise. It tunes you into a deeper rhythm. The one where you move with purpose, not pressure. Where you take initiative instead of making excuses. Where you wake up not to catch up, but to create something that outlives the day. Something aligned, something powerful, something uniquely yours. We live in a world that rewards performance over progress. From the moment we're children, we're taught to seek approval, grades, trophies, likes, applause. And while recognition feels good, it can quietly become a trap. Because when you're addicted to validation, you're no longer driven by your own standard. You're driven by someone else's reaction. And once you start chasing validation, growth often takes a back seat. You begin to care more about looking like you're winning than actually doing the inner work it takes to grow. Validation is loud, it's public, it's fast. Growth is quiet, it's personal, it's slow. Validation tells you what others want from you. Growth tells you what you need for yourself. And the hard truth is that most people choose validation because it's easier. It gives an immediate hit of approval, a like, a comment, a compliment. Growth doesn't work like that. Growth doesn't clap when you're alone at 5 a.m. reading a book. It doesn't go viral when you choose discipline over distraction. It doesn't trend when you heal from something privately without telling the world. The pursuit of validation creates a performance mentality. You do things for show. You become selective with your effort, only pushing when there's something to prove, something to gain. But growth is different. Growth is consistent even when nobody's watching. It happens in the dark when you're doing the uncomfortable, unglamorous things that nobody ever gives you credit for. And that's what makes it so powerful. It doesn't depend on applause. It depends on alignment. When you value growth over validation, your decisions begin to shift. You stop asking, will this make me look good? And start asking, will this make me better? That single shift is transformative because growth is not always impressive to others. Sometimes it looks like failing. Sometimes it looks like starting over. Sometimes it looks like walking away from something you used to want. Validation tells you to keep performing. Growth tells you to keep evolving, even if the process is. Choosing growth over validation also means learning to be misunderstood. Not everyone will get it when you start prioritizing your development over your appearance. They'll wonder why you're reading more, showing up different, setting new boundaries. Some people may feel threatened when you start elevating your standards, but that's the price of transformation. You can't become more while staying palatable to everyone who knew the old version of you. You have to be okay with outgrowing their expectations. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you stop needing permission to grow. You stop waiting for someone to tell you you're good enough, smart enough, ready enough. You realize that real validation comes from knowing who you're becoming, not who you've been. And that kind of inner knowing can't be given to you. It has to be grown within you. It's the difference between chasing a title and becoming a leader, between collecting praise and cultivating purpose. Validation often seeks quick wins. It wants the highlight reel. It wants the recognition without the repetition. But growth is in love with the process. It thrives in the mundane. It shows up in the small things you do daily, the things nobody sees but you. Growth doesn't rush. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It just asks you to keep showing up, to keep stretching, to keep becoming, even when it's hard, even when it's unnoticed. One of the clearest signs of maturity is when you no longer need an audience to feel valuable, when your peace comes from progress, not praise, when your confidence is rooted in your evolution, not your image. You begin to realize that every step forward, even the ones nobody claps for, is evidence that you're becoming more of who you were created to be. And that's a quiet kind of power, one that doesn't fade with trends or depend on anyone else's approval. You also learn to delay gratification. Validation is about right now. Growth is about the long game. It teaches you to plant seeds even when you won't see fruit for months or years. It teaches you to keep building the foundation when the house still looks empty. And in a world obsessed with instant results, that patience becomes your advantage. Because while others are looking for shortcuts, you're learning how to build something that lasts. And perhaps the greatest gift of choosing growth over validation is that you begin to fall in love with who you're becoming. Not for how impressive you look, but for how deeply aligned you feel. You become your own standard. You become your own accountability. And in that space, you're no longer driven by fear of rejection. You're pulled by the vision of your potential. Growth doesn't just change what you do, it transforms who you are. Every day, the world is shifting. Technology evolves, industries transform, expectations rise, and yet some people remain exactly where they've always been, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They go through the motions, stuck in habits that haven't served them for years, driven by beliefs that no longer apply. And the reason is simple. They've treated personal development like an option, like something you do when you have time, like a luxury instead of what it really is, a necessity for survival and success in a world that refuses to stand still. There's no neutral ground when it comes to growth. You're either evolving or you're decaying. You're either upgrading your mindset or it's slowly being conditioned by your past and by your environment. Life doesn't pause while you figure things out. It keeps moving. And if you're not doing the work to develop yourself, you're falling behind, not just in your goals, but in your capacity to handle what's coming. Because life will test you, not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly. And without personal development, you won't be ready. Success doesn't happen by accident. Neither does character. Neither does clarity, confidence, or discipline. These are things that must be built brick by brick, moment by moment. Personal development is the construction site of your future self. It's where you break down outdated thinking and rebuild a stronger, sharper perspective. It's where you stop living by default and start designing your life with intention. You don't stumble into excellence. You shape it through relentless self-mastery. Too many people want the results of growth without the responsibility. They want the income without the mindset, the influence without the integrity, the peace without the process. But life doesn't work like that. The version of you who is ready for more must be developed. That means reading when you'd rather scroll. That means showing up when no one's watching. That means confronting your excuses and replacing them with execution. It's not glamorous, but it is necessary. You can't outrun your inner world. If you don't fix the thoughts that sabotage you, the same patterns will repeat no matter where you go. New job, same insecurity. New relationship, same fear. New opportunity, same self-doubt. That's why personal development is non-negotiable, because external change without internal growth is just a temporary illusion. The only way to truly elevate is to go deeper within yourself and upgrade the operating system you live from. Personal development isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you really are, beneath the trauma, beneath the conditioning, beneath the fear. It's about peeling back the layers that life has stacked on top of your potential and reconnecting with the greatness that's already within you. But that work requires intentional effort. It requires honesty, reflection, and a commitment to improvement even when it's uncomfortable. There will always be people who laugh at the idea of working on yourself, people who think reading books or listening to podcasts or investing in growth is a waste of time. But understand this, those people are projecting their limits onto you. They're not committed to evolving, so they mock what they don't understand. But one day, they'll look around and wonder how you got so far ahead, and the answer will be simple: you did the work they refused to do. Everything you want, every goal, every breakthrough, every transformation lives on the other side of a version of you that doesn't exist yet. And the only way to meet that version is through consistent, deliberate development. No shortcuts, no cheat codes, just you deciding every day that staying the same is no longer an option. Because mediocrity is comfortable, but greatness is earned. And you earn it in the unseen hours where growth happens. There's a cost to not developing yourself, a cost in missed opportunities, a cost in broken relationships, a cost in unfulfilled potential. You may not see the bill today, but eventually you'll pay the price for every lesson you avoided, every skill you refused to learn, every part of yourself you chose not to face. Personal development is the investment that pays compound interest, not just in what you accomplish, but in who you become along the way. The world will always present challenges bigger than you expected, but if you've been developing yourself, you'll meet those challenges with a strength bigger than you knew you had. You'll show up with tools, with clarity, with resilience. And while others are crushed under pressure, you'll rise because you built your foundation on growth. Personal development isn't just how you get ahead, it's how you stay strong when life tries to pull you back. Leadership is often misunderstood. People think it's about titles, authority, or how many followers you have. But true leadership doesn't begin when others listen to you. It begins when you learn to listen to yourself. It starts when you take ownership of your choices, your mindset, your habits, and your direction. Before you can lead anyone else, before you can impact, influence, or inspire, you must first master the ability to lead yourself. Because until you can direct your own life with clarity and conviction, no external leadership will have a solid foundation. Self-leadership means holding yourself accountable when nobody else is watching. It's easy to show up when there's a deadline or an audience. It's easy to be consistent when someone's checking on you. But the real test of leadership is in the quiet moments, when it's just you and your standards. Do you push yourself? Do you follow through? Do you rise to the level you've set even when no one will see the result? That's where character is built, and that's where real leadership begins. Every great leader you admire at their core is someone who mastered themselves before they led movements. They won battles in their minds before they conquered anything in the physical world. They trained their focus, shaped their beliefs, and practiced discipline when it wasn't convenient. Self-leadership is about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to be forced, reminded, or motivated to grow. You move because you've decided your vision is worth it. You act because excellence is your standard, not because someone's keeping score. Most people wait for external direction. They wait for motivation, for permission, for someone to lay out a plan. But a self-leader doesn't wait, they create. They set the tone for their day. They define their goals. They take responsibility not just for what happens to them, but for how they respond to it. They lead themselves with intention, not emotion. And in doing so, they become dependable in a world full of distractions and excuses. Their word matters, especially to themselves. When you lead yourself well, your energy shifts. You stop chasing validation because you're already anchored in purpose. You stop comparing yourself because you're measuring your growth against your own standards, not someone else's highlight reel. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You start making moves based on your mission, not your mood. That level of clarity becomes a magnet for others, not because you told them to follow, but because your example speaks louder than any words ever could. Self-leadership also demands self-awareness. You have to know your strengths and your blind spots. You have to be honest about where you're slipping and where you need to grow. You can't lead what you won't face, and many people avoid that level of inner work because it's uncomfortable. But avoiding discomfort is the fastest way to stay stuck. When you lead yourself, you lean into the uncomfortable. You seek feedback. You embrace correction, not because you like being wrong, but because you're committed to being better. It's also about consistency. One good day doesn't make you a self-leader. One morning routine doesn't change your life. It's what you do repeatedly, especially on the days when it's hard, that shapes your direction. Leadership is forged in repetition. It's not about hype, it's about habits. You don't build credibility overnight. You build it through disciplined action day after day, long after the excitement wears off. That's what separates those who inspire from those who just talk. Self-leadership requires emotional intelligence. It's not just about driving hard. It's about knowing why you're doing what you're doing. It's about managing your emotions so they don't manage you. It's about staying grounded when life throws you off balance and recalibrating instead of collapsing. Leaders don't just move fast. They move with wisdom, and that wisdom comes from taking time to know yourself, to sit with your thoughts, to heal from your past, and to decide how you want to show up going forward. There will always be resistance. There will always be distractions. But self-leadership teaches you how to lead through the storm, not wait for perfect weather. It teaches you to adapt, to evolve, to pivot without losing purpose. And when life hits hard, as it inevitably will, you won't panic. You'll pause, assess, and respond with clarity. That kind of composure doesn't come from theory. It comes from training. It comes from choosing every day to rise above your excuses and show up with excellence, no matter what. In a world full of noise, self-leadership is your compass. It's what keeps you focused when others get lost in comparison. It's what keeps you grounded when circumstances try to shake you. And it's what sets you apart, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you've chosen to lead the one person you'll always be responsible for, you. The world often conflates ambition with selfishness. We are taught that success is a zero-sum game where the achievement of one person means the loss of another. But this mindset is rooted in scarcity thinking. It fails to recognize that real success isn't just about what you take, but what you create and how you elevate those around you. Strategy is not selfishness. In fact, true strategy elevates everyone involved, while selfishness only holds people back. Success isn't a solitary journey. It's a collective effort built on collaboration, alignment, and shared purpose. The difference between strategy and selfishness lies in the intent behind the actions. Selfishness operates from a place of fear that there's not enough to go around, fear that someone else's win will cost you yours. Strategy, on the other hand, operates from a place of abundance. A strategic mind looks for opportunities to bring value to the table, not just to take. It seeks alignment, not division. Strategy is about creating win-win scenarios where everyone involved can thrive, grow, and achieve, not at the expense of others, but alongside them. Selfishness limits your potential because it's a narrow, inward-focused perspective. It only sees the world through the lens of me, me, me. Strategy, however, expands your vision. It takes into account the bigger picture, the long-term implications, the ripple effects, the people you impact. When you operate with strategy, you are playing a game where every move you make has the potential to create positive outcomes, not just for you, but for your team, your community, and even the world at large. It's a long-term game, not just a short-term win. Selfishness thrives in isolation, but strategy thrives in connection. It involves collaboration, partnership, and mutual respect. A selfish individual builds walls around their success, viewing others as competition or threats. But a strategic individual understands that relationships are the foundation of sustainable success. They build bridges, not barriers. They invest in others, knowing that true growth comes not from hoarding resources or opportunities, but from sharing them. A strategic mind creates networks of influence, not just personal achievements. One of the core aspects of strategy is understanding your purpose and aligning it with the needs of others. It's not about what you can get out of a situation, but what you can contribute to it. When your actions are guided by a larger mission, one that goes beyond personal gain, you make decisions that are informed by the impact they will have on the broader community. In this way, strategy encourages a sense of responsibility, where success is measured not by what you have accumulated, but by how much you've given and how much you've helped others achieve. Selfishness is short-sighted. It's focused on immediate gratification, on getting ahead right now at all costs. But strategy is focused on sustainability. It asks, what will this action lead to in the future? It considers the long-term consequences and the legacy you want to leave behind. When you approach life with strategy, you understand that the best way to get what you want is to help others get what they want as well. This mutual support fosters loyalty, trust, and respect, qualities that create lasting success in a fulfilling journey. Another significant difference between selfishness and strategy is adaptability. Selfishness often locks you into rigid thinking. This is the way I must win. It doesn't allow room for change, growth, or new perspectives. Strategy, however, is flexible. It's about being able to pivot when necessary, to adjust your course when circumstances shift. A selfish person is unwilling to change their approach because their identity is tied to the immediate result. A strategic person is willing to learn, grow, and evolve because they understand that success is not a destination, but a process. The problem with selfishness is that it breeds resentment. People can sense when someone is only out for themselves. It creates an environment where trust is eroded and collaboration becomes difficult. Strategy, on the other hand, fosters trust. When you approach challenges with a strategic mindset, you invite others to be a part of your journey. You create a culture of transparency, communication, and shared goals. People want to work with you because they see that. Your success is not just for you, it's for everyone who chooses to join forces with you. Selfishness also leads to a constant need for validation. When you're focused solely on your own gain, you become overly dependent on external praise and recognition. But strategy frees you from this need. A strategic individual is confident in their actions because they are driven by purpose and principle, not by the approval of others. Their motivation is internal, grounded in the belief that their strategy will lead to long-term success regardless of temporary accolades or external recognition. The power of strategy lies in its ability to multiply impact. It's not about doing more for yourself. It's about doing the right things in the right way with others in mind. By focusing on strategic aligned actions, you create ripple effects that extend far beyond your immediate reach. Selfishness may win in the short term, but strategy wins in the long term because it's not just about you, it's about everyone who is a part of your journey and everyone who benefits from the path you've laid. Discipline is the foundation upon which everything of value is built. It's often mistaken for restriction or self-punishment, but in reality, it's an act of profound self-respect. It's the commitment to showing up for yourself even when the external rewards aren't immediate, even when the world isn't watching, even when no one is clapping. Discipline is the internal force that propels you to keep going when it's easier to stop. And when you choose discipline, you choose to honor your potential, your goals, and your worth. When you discipline yourself, you're telling yourself that you are worthy of effort, of progress, of the time and energy it takes to create something meaningful. It's a way of demonstrating to yourself that you value the long-term results over short-term comfort. People often look for shortcuts. They seek easy paths. But the reality is that lasting success and fulfillment never come from the easy way. The path that requires discipline may be harder, but it is the one that builds your character, your resilience, and your self-respect. Every time you choose discipline, you reinforce the belief that you are worth the effort it takes to become the best version of yourself. True self-respect doesn't come from external validation. It comes from the integrity of your own actions. When you are disciplined, you prove to yourself that you are capable of keeping your word even when it's inconvenient. It means that your actions are aligned with your values and your goals, and this alignment builds trust within yourself. Each time you follow through on your commitments, you increase your self-confidence. You know that you can rely on yourself, and that consistency becomes a source of pride, a reflection of the respect you have for your own time, energy, and potential. Discipline teaches you the art of delayed gratification. It trains you to see beyond the immediate temptation and focus on the greater reward that will come with sustained effort. This requires a level of maturity and emotional intelligence. It's easy to say yes to the short-term pleasure, the late-night indulgence, the impulse to procrastinate, the comfort of staying in your comfort zone. But discipline teaches you that the satisfaction of achieving your goals far outweighs the fleeting comfort of indulgence. Each time you resist the urge for immediate pleasure, you gain more respect for yourself because you are strengthening your ability to choose what truly matters over what feels good in the moment. In many ways, discipline is the ultimate form of self-care. It's about setting boundaries for yourself that protect your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. When you create structure in your life and hold yourself accountable, you ensure that you are doing the things that nurture your growth. Discipline encourages you to take care of your body, to feed your mind with knowledge, and to nourish your soul with experiences that align with your highest purpose. It's easy to neglect these aspects when life gets busy, but discipline allows you to prioritize them, showing yourself the respect you deserve by taking consistent action toward becoming your best self. The more disciplined you become, the more clarity you gain about who you are and what you stand for. Discipline forces you to confront your weaknesses and to do the hard work of overcoming them. It doesn't allow you to live in denial or to make excuses. Discipline calls you to face your fears, to push past procrastination, and to take action even when you don't feel like it. Each time you do, you grow stronger, and you develop a deeper sense of self-respect because you know that you are capable of facing life's challenges head on, without hesitation. In a world that often promotes instant gratification, discipline is the antidote. It is the antidote to the noise of distractions, the constant pull toward laziness, and the temptation to give up when things get hard. Discipline requires you to stand firm against these forces and to stay focused on your long-term vision. It is in these moments of commitment that your true character is revealed. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward even when the path is uncertain or difficult. It teaches you to embrace discomfort and to find growth in those moments when it feels easier to quit. Self-respect is also about honoring your time. When you are disciplined with your time, you are giving yourself the respect you deserve by showing up for what matters most. Time is one of the most precious resources we have, and how we use it speaks volumes about how much we value ourselves. Discipline allows you to manage your time effectively, ensuring that you are spending it on activities that align with your purpose and contribute to your growth. It means choosing the work that will bring you closer to your goals, saying no to distractions, and prioritizing the actions that will lead you to success. Through discipline, you gain the ability to push through discomfort and remain consistent. It's easy to start something, but discipline is what keeps you going when the excitement fades, when the initial motivation wears off. It's in these moments that discipline truly proves its value. It is in the daily grind, in the consistent actions, in the commitment to your craft that you prove your self-respect. When you can keep going even when it feels hard, when you can keep showing up even when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you are worthy of success and capable of achieving your dreams. Discipline is not about being perfect or rigid. It's about being intentional. It's about making choices that reflect the person you are becoming. It's about making promises to yourself and keeping them, even when the world around you is chaotic. It's about treating your goals with the same level of importance that you treat your relationships and responsibilities. In the end, discipline is a reflection of how much you care about your future, how much you believe in your potential, and how much you respect yourself enough to invest in becoming the person you were meant to be. The mind is a powerful force, and its energy is not limitless. What we choose to focus on determines how that energy is spent, and ultimately what we attract into our lives. Too many people wander through life without ever considering where their focus is directed. They let distractions, worries, and external influences dictate where their attention goes. But when you consciously decide where your focus will be, You direct the flow of your energy toward what truly matters to you. Energy is precious, and where you place your focus is where that energy will begin to accumulate and manifest into reality. The energy that flows from your focus isn't just mental, it's physical, emotional, and spiritual as well. If you focus on negative thoughts, you feed them and they grow. If you focus on scarcity, you create more scarcity in your life. If you focus on problems, you begin to see only problems. It's like a lens that colors your perception of the world. However, when you focus on solutions, abundance, and the positive aspects of life, you begin to see opportunities and possibilities everywhere you look. Your energy aligns with your focus, and that alignment transforms your experiences. What you choose to dwell on becomes your reality. So it's essential to decide consciously where you invest your attention. The mind naturally gravitates toward what it believes is most important. This is why it's so critical to manage your focus with intention. If you allow external distractions, whether it's social media, the opinions of others, or the drama of the world to consume your attention, you are directing your energy toward things that are often unproductive or out of your control. Instead of focusing on things that drain you, shift your attention toward the things that nurture you, the things that inspire you, and the things that propel you forward. When you focus on what aligns with your vision and goals, you begin to attract the energy necessary to manifest them. The law of attraction is rooted in this very principle. Energy flows where focus goes. When you consistently focus on your dreams, your goals, and your desired outcomes, your energy starts to resonate with those things. It's not about magic or wishful thinking. It's about alignment. The more energy you pour into something, whether it's a career, a relationship, or personal growth, the more momentum you build. That energy, fueled by your focus, propels you toward your goals. It pulls opportunities into your orbit and invites the right circumstances into your life, not because you're wishing for them, but because you've chosen to channel your energy in a way that aligns with them. It's not just about mental focus. Emotional focus plays a crucial role in where your energy flows. If you allow negative emotions such as fear, anger, or resentment to dominate your thoughts, your energy will naturally follow that current. These emotions are heavy and dense, and they keep you locked in patterns of stagnation and disempowerment. However, when you focus on love, gratitude, joy, and empowerment, your emotional energy rises and shifts. You begin to vibrate at a higher frequency, and the energy that flows from you is one of positivity and potential. Your emotional state is just as powerful as your mental focus, and together they guide where your energy flows and what you manifest. Focus is not just about what you choose to think about, but also about where you choose to place your attention. In a world filled with distractions, this is more challenging than ever. The constant bombardment of news, social media, and external noise can easily pull your attention away from what matters most. But you must decide to guard your focus like the precious resource it is. Just as you would guard your time, your money, or your health, you must protect your focus. The more you practice consciously placing your attention on what aligns with your goals, the more energy you will pour into those pursuits, and the more likely you will see them come to fruition. The way you spend your focus also influences your relationships. Energy flows where focus goes in all aspects of life, and this includes the people around you. If you focus on negativity in others, you begin to see the flaws, the shortcomings, and the things that annoy you. But when you focus on the positive qualities of the people in your life, your relationships are energized with love, understanding, and appreciation. Your focus fuels the energy you bring to those relationships, and by directing that energy in a positive direction, you create a more supportive and uplifting environment for everyone involved. Focus can heal relationships, bring people closer, and create deeper connections, all through the energy it generates. Another significant area where focus impacts the flow of energy is in your work and career. If you focus on obstacles, limitations, or how difficult something seems, your energy gets stuck in frustration and self-doubt. However, when you focus on solutions, learning opportunities, and growth, you free up your energy to be more productive, creative, and effective. Focus drives performance. It allows you to push through challenges with resilience and maintain the momentum needed to achieve success. When you focus on mastering your craft, you direct your energy toward excellence, and excellence rewards you with progress, recognition, and achievement. The power of focus is also evident in the realm of health and well-being. If you focus on the pain, the limitations, and the discomfort, your body responds accordingly. But when you focus on healing, on strength, and on the things that nurture your body, your energy shifts toward wellness. The same applies to your mental and emotional health. If you focus on negative self-talk, on fear, and on past trauma, your energy becomes heavy and stagnant. However, when you focus on growth, self-compassion, and mindfulness, you create space for healing and transformation. The energy of your focus supports and nurtures your mind, body, and spirit when directed toward health and wellness. Energy flows where focus goes because focus is the mechanism by which we direct our lives. It's the lens through which we filter our experiences, and it dictates the direction in which our energy moves. If you are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or scattered, it may be time to reevaluate where your focus has been. You have the power to shift your focus, redirect your energy, and realign with your purpose. By consciously choosing where to place your attention, you create the conditions for your energy to flow toward what truly matters and begin to see the fruits of that energy manifest in your life. You are not average, even if the world around you constantly tries to convince you otherwise. Society often tries to fit everyone into a mold, defining success, potential, and worth by one-size-fits-all standards. But the truth is, you were never meant to blend in with the crowd. You were not born to be just another face in the masses, to walk a path laid out by someone else's expectations, or to live a life that others define for you. Your potential is far greater than what average allows. The very fact that you exist means you were meant for something extraordinary, something that no one else can replicate. Embrace this truth. You are unique. You are exceptional. And you are meant for greatness. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of being average. Many people believe that following the crowd is the safest, easiest path to success. They look for reassurance in the sameness of others, thinking that if they just blend in, they won't stand out in a negative way. But settling for average only guarantees one thing: mediocrity. You won't make waves, you won't leave a legacy, you won't challenge the limits of what is possible. The path of average doesn't lead to greatness. It leads to a life of missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and regret. The average person chooses comfort over challenge. They seek certainty over possibility. But you are different. You have the courage to see beyond the status quo. When you embrace the fact that you're not average, you open yourself to limitless possibilities. The person who chooses to rise above the average is the one who dares to dream bigger, push further, and believe in what others might dismiss. You see, it's not about being perfect. It's about having the audacity to be different. It's about stepping into your uniqueness and refusing to apologize for it. Those who choose to stand out, who choose to embrace their individuality, create waves in the world. They don't wait for permission to live their truth. They live it boldly, unapologetically, and without fear of judgment. Being exceptional requires a shift in mindset. It means letting go of the limiting beliefs that hold you back. The belief that you can't be more than average, the belief that you don't deserve success, or the belief that you can't achieve greatness. These beliefs are nothing more than stories you've been told by others, stories you've chosen to accept as truth. But they are not your truth. You are capable of far more than you realize. You are capable of shaping your own destiny, of defying the odds, and of creating a life that reflects your true potential. The world doesn't need more average. It needs more people who believe in themselves enough to pursue the extraordinary. When you recognize that you're not average, you stop settling for less. You stop accepting excuses, and you stop letting fear dictate your decisions. You stop playing small. You start thinking big. You start acting on the belief that you are capable of achieving things that others would call impossible. The person who refuses to settle for average is always learning, always growing, and always striving to become better. They understand that greatness is not about being the best at everything. It's about pushing past your limits, constantly evolving, and consistently doing the work required to reach your potential. The most successful people in history weren't average. They weren't defined by the limitations of their time or by the standards set for them. They broke the mold, defied the rules, and forged their own path. They didn't wait for the right conditions. They created the right conditions. They embraced failure as a stepping stone to success, and they understood that setbacks are part of the journey, not the end of it. They chose to be relentless in their pursuit of their vision, no matter how many people told them it couldn't be done. And that's exactly what sets you apart. Your willingness to step outside the boundaries of average, to pursue what others think is impossible, and to keep moving forward despite the obstacles. When you're not average, you create an energy that attracts others who share your vision and ambition. You become a magnet for opportunities, ideas, and partnerships. You don't need to chase success. It comes to you when you live in alignment with your highest potential. People are drawn to those who refuse to settle for less, who are unapologetically committed to their goals, and who inspire others to rise above their own limitation. Your energy and your actions become a beacon of possibility for those around you. They look at you and think, if they can do it, so can I. Being extraordinary is not about being better than anyone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about pushing yourself to evolve, to learn, and to grow every single day. It's about setting your own standards, creating your own benchmarks, and measuring your success against the person you were yesterday, not the person next to you. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you free yourself to run your own race at your own pace, without the pressure to meet someone else's expectations. You are not average, but it takes work to prove it to yourself. It requires the discipline to push through doubt, the courage to face discomfort, and the consistency to keep moving forward even when progress seems slow. It requires developing a mindset that is focused on growth, on progress, and on constantly striving to do better than you did yesterday. The journey to greatness is not a straight path. It's filled with twists, turns, challenges, and lessons. But each step you take, each decision you make, brings you closer to the extraordinary life you are meant to live. When you begin to believe that you're not average, you create a ripple effect that influences every area of your life. Your relationships, your career, your health, and your mindset all begin to reflect the belief that you are worthy of greatness. And as you continue to evolve, you become not just an example of what's possible, but a living testament to the power of believing in your own potential. When you stop settling for average, you give yourself the chance to become extraordinary. And in doing so, you unlock a future that is filled with unlimited possibilities. There's a lie that far too many people believe, a lie that tomorrow is guaranteed, that there will always be a better time to begin, that circumstances will one day become ideal. But the truth is, waiting for tomorrow is the fastest way to bury your dreams under the weight of excuses. There's power in today that tomorrow will never offer. Today is real, it's tangible, and it's within your control. Tomorrow is a mirage, a promise that might never come. Every day you wait is another day you lose momentum, confidence, and the chance to create the life you desire. What matters most isn't how ready you feel, but how willing you are to act in this very moment. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. You don't need perfect clarity, a detailed plan, or total confidence to take the first step. Waiting for the stars to align is a trap that leads to paralysis. Action creates clarity, movement breeds momentum. You will figure it out as you go. The most successful people in the world didn't wait until they were experts to start. They became experts they learned through doing, failing, adjusting, and trying again. The longer you delay your beginning, the harder it becomes to believe in your own ability. But when you act today, you shift the energy from hesitation to execution, from doubt to drive. Procrastination is not a time issue, it's a decision issue. It's a choice to put off what you know is important. And behind that choice is often fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But fear thrives in silence. The longer you avoid action, the more power fear gains over your life. The antidote to fear is not waiting, it's action. Even the smallest step taken today has more value than the biggest idea delayed until tomorrow. You overcome fear not by thinking your way through it, but by moving your way through it. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to move forward despite it. Your goals aren't waiting for you. Time isn't holding space for your indecision. Every minute you delay is a minute someone else is using to build what you keep putting off. Success doesn't belong to the most talented, it belongs to the most committed. And commitment is measured in action, not in intention. Today, you have everything you need to begin. Breath in your lungs, thoughts in your mind, strength in your body, and desire in your heart. You don't need more time, you need more action. Every meaningful change you want in your life starts with the decision to begin now. People talk about someday as if it's a place they can visit. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll get in shape, build wealth, find peace. But someday isn't a day on the calendar. It's a lie disguised as patience. You have today. That's all you've ever had. And if you can't make progress with what you have now, more time won't change that. What changes your life is the decision to take full ownership of your present moment. Today is your platform. Today is your foundation. What you do with it is the truest reflection of how much your dreams mean to you. Starting today doesn't mean doing everything today. It means doing something. It means committing to one action that moves you closer to where you want to be. It might be a phone call, a workout, a page written, $1 saved, a new routine started. Big dreams are built through small actions repeated daily. There is magic in consistency, and the only way to become consistent is to start. Today is the seed of transformation. Plant it, water it, nurture it, and watch what grows from the power of showing up when it's hardest to do so. Momentum is a byproduct of action. Once you begin, even if it's messy or imperfect, you create motion. And motion builds confidence. Confidence builds belief. Belief builds resilience. And resilience fuels persistence. But none of this happens if you stay stuck in the idea phase. There is a cost to waiting that you can't recover: time, energy, and lost progress. The decision to delay is also a decision to accept less from yourself and your life. But the decision to start now with whatever you have, wherever you are, is the moment you begin to shift the course of your future. You'll never feel fully ready. Readiness is a myth sold to the hesitant. If you wait for the feeling of readiness to arrive, you'll be waiting forever. The most powerful growth happens when you move while you're uncertain, when you act without knowing exactly how it will all work out. That's where transformation lives, in the messy, uncomfortable, unfamiliar space between where you are and where you want to be. And once you take that first step, you'll see that progress isn't as far away as it seemed. The fear of starting is always greater than the reality of doing. Once you're in motion, everything changes. Discipline starts with the choice to begin. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is the muscle that grows when you choose to start even when you don't feel like it. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move. But the moment you act, you create the emotional shift required to sustain action. You stop living in your head and start living in your life. And that life responds to you. It opens doors. It provides lessons. It creates opportunities. But it only does that for those who move, not for those who endlessly prepare. What you do today sets the tone for what comes next. It's the difference between staying where you are and moving closer to the life you imagine. It's the difference between dreaming and becoming. You have a decision to make, one that carries the weight of your potential and the reality of your future. The truth is, nothing changes until you do. And that change doesn't begin in a far-off moment. It begins right now.